Hello, I'm Jeremy Beach, and I did an audit of the facilities at Alta Vista Charter High School in Kansas City, Missouri. The school that I work for as a chemistry teacher has about 402 students. We're a very diverse school. We're 97% Latino, 3% African American, less than 1% white. Our school was founded originally to help Latino students in Kansas City who were having the highest dropout rate of any demographic. We have 23 teachers, 2 principals, and 9 support staff, and we are in urban Kansas City area. We're about 5 minutes from downtown, so we're about as urban as it comes. The city itself is about 59% white with 30% African American and about 10% Latino, so our demographics are actually fairly unique for a lot of the schools in Kansas City. And I was able to receive all that Kansas City data from Wikipedia as well. One of the best work that we're doing right now that really is improving our school is our students and staff were not fans of the yellow walls all over the place. And frankly, they didn't create a very inviting environment for students. So students have been working on murals all over the schools to really put their own stamp on the schools. And we were fortunate to have a couple of principals that allow for things like the painting of the walls to occur. It's an expression of our culture, it's an expression of the students' culture, and it's really helping a lot of the staff and student morale that was having a few issues here and there. So here we have a few of the murals that we're painting around the school to really make it a more inviting environment. You can kind of see the yellow wall on the right there. Not really something that screams, enjoy my educational experience, but with facilities like these, painting the walls is a very easy way to make things better. One of the best work we're doing right now, also technology wise, is for the 3 years that we've been in this building, we haven't had a central communication system, which is very problematic. We've actually been completely dependent upon communication through our cell phones if there needed to be a mass communication. Now we had our phone system, so if we were needed to be called individually, that could be done. But if there needed to be a mass message sent out, there was no communication. But we are working on that. We're getting our PA system put in. You can see the speaker there. It is finally going to be able to have a two-way system where we can call down to the office using that PA system, and that's going to allow them to be able to send out mass communications, which in and of itself is a very significant safety issue, because if we had an issue like an intruder, there would be no way to give a mass communication out to the entire staff other than a text message or something along that line. So this is a big problem that they've recognized and that they're fixing. We're actually an extremely secure building. You can see the bars on the windows on the right, which is very necessary. We're downtown Kansas City. We're in an area that often has many challenges in terms of safety, a lower socioeconomic area. The crime rates are a little bit higher. I mean, just last night we had a shooting 8 minutes from the school. So it's good that we have a really secure building. We could do better. If you see on the left, the gate to the staff parking lot is not electronic, it is manual, so it is open at all times. So that gate really doesn't provide a lot of security, but the building in itself is extremely secure. And the building itself is extremely safe. They just don't make them like they used to. It is a solid brick building that is extremely safe. It's resilient to natural disasters. I can think of very few places in the entire Kansas City that would be safer during things like a tornado than the basement of our building. So we live in a very, very safe, secure building, and that's a real strength of ours, so that students can really focus on their learning rather than any sort of form of safety issues. And we have a great staff. Our maintenance staff does a great job from the top down. At the district level, our maintenance managers and those in charge, all the way down to our janitorial staff in the building itself, they do a great job. They're knowledgeable. They pick up their experience. They got a great diversity of experience when it comes to working with electrical versus cleaning versus maintaining the facilities itself. They do a great job. So I think our staffing is one of our strengths, and they do the best they can with the facilities we have. We are a smaller facility. There are a lot of resources that we are lacking, but they do a great job with what we have. We do have a brand new HVAC system, which is one of our strengths. You can see it's well secured, and it provides great airflow and cooling for the main areas like the cafeteria, like the gym. But unfortunately, our HVAC system is also one of our strengths because we don't have any central air. The common areas are good to go, but our individual rooms still use window units as a way to cool down the room itself. So obviously this is an environmental condition issue, and it would be a very costly endeavor from the NFHS. I was doing a look into it on how much something would cost. The end result would cost us fairly significant amount of money, probably at least $132,000. Other areas of concern is because of our small building, there's a lot of lacking in storage areas, a lot of the extra facilities that a school needs in order to be successful. We have no theater, we have no media center, our locker rooms are not sufficient. This is one of the teacher break rooms. You can see that it is not sufficient for a lot of student meetings. There's not a lot of places you can go with a parent to have a meeting outside of your normal classroom. You can see that the band actually uses many of these rooms because they don't have any extra little small rooms to do small work with the band. This is the room that the speech therapist is in. It's also a room that the special education teachers might have a private meeting with, and it's basically the size of a closet. There's where our technology people are supposed to be housed, the actual servers themselves, and where most of the technology IT people are is basically a closet across from the office. There's the teacher's lounge. Our locker rooms are very insufficient. Those are the only lockers there are in the male locker room. Most of it's empty. So a lot of our facilities, as far as storage and where to have meetings, are not really covering it. And as we learned from the textbook from Zuba and Young, a lot of these extra little facilities are necessary for a good school environment. Our technology, while we are getting our PA system fixed, there are other significant issues related to internet and technology. If we look at things like the Baca, Mitchell, and Young article, technology in today's age is absolutely essential. There are certain things that we're not cutting it out. Our internet is extremely slow. It is meant for only about 500 devices, and unfortunately, the password gets out, and we end up with 1,200 devices on our network. So that's usually causes a lot of issues. And if we're going to talk about staff morale and how within the facilities, one of the things that probably frustrates teachers the most is when the internet isn't working. Our alarm system on the front door doesn't really work. It often is malfunctioning and going off and creating an extremely annoying noise for everybody on the first floor. So they're working on getting that fixed hopefully soon. We do have some exposed wiring, which on one end looks bad, and on the other end probably could have some issues associated with some of our wiring as well. Our parking lot for the staff is not well lit. You can see the lights are on the very far end. So there are some safety concerns, especially with the neighborhood we're in. So if you're a teacher and you're leaving after dark, there are some concerns that the staff parking lot is not lit enough. From the top down, the person really in charge of our systems is the chief operations officer. Because we're a nonprofit, we're a part of a greater organization called Guadalupe Centers, Inc. We're just one branch of the greater Guadalupe Centers nonprofit organization. Mr. Surratt kind of works with all the different aspects of the organization. And then our branch is mostly controlled by the superintendent, Mr. Palmer. Mr. Surratt and Mr. Palmer are both brand new. Mr. Surratt was hired last semester. Mr. Palmer was hired about a month ago. They're doing wonderful things. They've already done an audit themselves, was one of the first things they did at the facilities, trying to highlight things that need to be fixed. And those are getting work done from the top down to our principal, Mr. Mendez, and even to the maintenance staff leader, Eddie. My priorities would say that we needed a plan to help fix our technology. They're already doing some capital outlay work at the elementary and middle schools, building new playgrounds, building improvements. So unfortunately, that means a lot of our priorities of improvements at the high school are being deferred right now. A lot of the issues that were being talked about previous are being deferred because they're working on getting the elementary and middle schools where they need to be. Hopefully, after those are done, they're going to be able to put some resources towards the high school itself. Providing more spaces would probably not be possible in our current building. There's just no space that we could add on. So that is so we have maxed out our student population, and we might need to move to a new building if they want to extend our population at all. We are always going to have funding issues because we're a charter school. We cannot raise our own funds. We cannot change the mill rate of the city. That has to be done by Kansas City, Missouri. We can't raise bond issues ourselves. So basically, whatever Kansas City, Missouri public school system is doing, that controls our funding, and there's not a lot we can do about it. We do get extra little donations as a nonprofit, but for the most part, we have trouble raising the funding issues. We don't have the greater community support. We have wonderful parents. We have a wonderful Latino community in Kansas City that supports the organization, but the greater Kansas City area, most of them probably don't even know we exist. We don't have an electronic central work order management system as described by the textbook as being something that would be very useful. We don't have an ongoing purchase order system. So these are a few little very simple practices that we would be able to improve things with. We already talked about staff and student morale. Probably the internet issues hurt the staff morale the most. The yellow color was not in favor. But with the murals that are going up, a lot of this is being fixed, and we are all very proud of this building. And we got a flexible staff that does the best with the resources they got. We have to ultimately contract out our transportation system, so frankly, there's not a lot we can do about that. We don't have enough students to warrant our own transportation system, which means we have to be flexible to the company schedule, but it's really the only viable option we have right now.